Hey everybody, so I had a couple technical issues this past couple minutes. So here now, so today is day 2, and yesterday we got started with just checking in with yourself and checking in with what your space. So I would love to see a picture of your space, or if you created a little like altar or something like that with any type of trinkets and things would be really nice. So if you have that completed, please share it. If you want to just email me or respond to the emails, I'm here to help keep you accountable as well. So you don't always have to just be in the Facebook group, but you can also be one-on-one with me. So that's up to you. It's just helpful to be around like-minded people who are also looking to be, to work on their yoga practice, yoga sequencing, and all of that. And I think most of us here today are in this group are here to cultivate a little bit more of their own personal practice. Of course, this will help you as a teacher too. So today's lesson is to get started at the very beginning. So if you did get a chance to look at the 10-step sequencing guide, we're skipping the step 1 is introduce yourself, or introductions, which I think is very important for yoga teachers doing classes, is to introduce yourselves. Hi. And but as for us practicing at home, I think we can kind of skip that for now. Of course, if you're a yoga teacher and you're looking for a little bit more on that topic, you can feel free to read up on introductions. And I do have a YouTube video on that as well. So today we're talking about how you would start your yoga practice, the poses that you would start in. So we're starting at the very beginning. And so we have several options to start your practice. And so the homework will be to spend a couple minutes in each of these poses, maybe even just 5 breaths, to see what feels good for you in your practice and what you would like to do. So you can pick one pose to start in and do that for the rest of your life. You don't have to switch it around, but there's going to be some kind of tips and topics and reasons you might switch it up. So those poses, just to get started in, there's 5 of them that I typically like to do. There might be more for you, or you might think of a couple others, but I like these 5. Number 1 being seated. Simple seated pose. You can rest your hands in your lap, hands on your knees, hands in prayer, eyes closed, eyes open, gaze down, just as long as you're sitting up tall and you're feeling, lifted and present and good posture. So we're not slouching, so we're checking in with ourselves that we're not doing any of this, but instead, and not like super sucking in and lifted poofy chest, but just this nice, like you're stacking from your tailbone through your neck, through the crown of your head. This is a little pull in of your chin, and we have this nice simple seated pose. That's probably my favorite one to start in. For myself, I like to just sit and check in because I practice in the morning. So morning times, you'll want to keep an upright position, typically, unless you want to fully relax. Laying down is going to be much more relaxing. So we've got this upright position. So I just want you to take a few breaths and sit in this pose and see how that feels. And notice if you have any tightness in different areas that come up. Things to watch for here is if your knees start to hurt, or if your hips are tight. You'll see some people, if you're a teacher, you'll see people like this. They can't get their knees down. You want your knees down at like hip level. But if there's a lot of this going on and it's really uncomfortable, lots of rounding in the back, you can just bring the legs forward and sit in this kind of position with your knees bent. Same with, you could even extend the legs, but you'll find sometimes there's this, and that just comes with tightness in the hamstrings in the back. So bend the knees and just sit this way. I have a lot of people with knee injuries actually in my classes. So I always make sure and give them the options of bringing their legs forward, or even sitting on their heels like this. And this could also be a better option for those with tight hamstrings or tight legs, but this one, just be careful on the knees. And if your toes fall asleep, it's okay. So that's a simple seated pose. There's a lot of options with that. The next one that I would say is number 1 that most vinyasa yoga classes are that teach for initial pose to set up your breath is child's pose. So like sitting on your heels, except leaning forward. And you'll find the biggest factor here that's uncomfortable for people is tightness in the hips, and these hip flexors right here. So they might have to be up a little bit higher instead of sitting on the heels. I really like child's pose because it gets rid of all distractions. You close your eyes, bring your forehead to the floor, extend the arms, and you get a nice hip stretch and shoulders and arms and back, and it just feels really nice. It brings you down into a calming position. So you are starting in a way that's just, you're not going to fall asleep there too, because you are feeling quite a bit. So child's pose is a good one. A lot of what you start in really depends on what you want the theme or your class to end up as. So if you're doing a lot of hip opening poses, it might be good to start in child's pose so that you can already feel those hips start open. Okay, so after that, and these are more calming, I would say. So seated pose, forward bend in child's pose, and then on your back. So Savasana, you can start on your back. This would be really great if you had a really busy day and you want to bring your energy down. So you lay down, and I always suggest opening the knees because our legs, we're not like quite stretched out or heated up yet. So open knees in this kind of position, hands rest by your side, on your belly, feel your breath, or even wide legs, whatever is comfortable. I rarely start classes in Savasana in this pose, but I have done it before. If you're working on, let's say, a back bend practice or something that's more heart opening, you could put a block underneath your back and lift it up a little bit just for that chest opening. So that could make this pose more energizing. Again, it depends on where you're headed in your practice, what you're needing. So lying down is number 3. The other 2 are standing. So let's see, I gotta tip this up then. So you can stand in mountain pose, super grounded. You can go feet wide, feet together, whatever is comfortable. And you ground down through the feet, lift, good posture, shoulders back and down. In the PDF I gave you, there is like purpose and how-tos and stuff. The shoulders back, standing tall, without trying to arch too much. Hips neutral, so instead of this anterior tilt, we're pulling inward, like your hips are a soup bowl and you don't want to spill. So you've got level across the hips. And hands resting by your side just naturally. And check it. So you don't have to face them forward, you just rest your hands by your side. Slight bend in the knees not to lock them. And the last one is something my yoga teacher does a lot. My first yoga teacher is a little bit wider stance, starting with a little bend in the knees, grab the elbows and fold forward. He really liked to start in this pose for some reason. This is a great pose to start in an evening practice. So if you're here again, it can kind of wind you down. You're already stretched out a little through the legs. In the morning, this could be really intense. And for that, like you can sway side to side, shake out your head, that kind of thing. So that's a standing forward fold. If you're looking for more energy, I would recommend a standing position. If you're looking to calm down, if you've got too much energy, you're looking to come down, bring it down to the ground, a little bit closer to the earth, because you'll feel grounded and secure. Where if you're already feeling heavy and low, you'll want to bring yourself up into the air. So you want maybe a standing pose. So the homework for you is to sit in each of those poses for a minute or two and notice which ones feel the best for you. And while you're doing that, work on your breath. So it's a deep belly breathing. For yoga practice, it's in and out through the nose, down into the diaphragm. So these are our primary muscle, breathing muscles are down here. And oftentimes we start to bring our breath up into the chest. And that's only using 1/3 of your lung capacity. So if you're finding that you're tight and tense throughout your shoulders, it's probably because you're using these secondary breathing muscles, too much chest breathing, when you want to bring that down. So that will help actually the tension in your neck and shoulders as you start to breathe into this belly portion. So in each of those poses, maybe it's seated, you want to spend 3 to 5 minutes noticing your breath, breathing deep into your belly. Seated, child's pose, on your back, standing, and a standing forward fold. And just work with the breath, deep belly breath. And through that, you will find maybe what's comfortable for you or what you need because it's uncomfortable, right? So there's that. Yeah, that's where we're starting today. That's where we're starting with our sequencing. Tomorrow, we are getting into simple warm-ups in each of these poses, using spinal warm-ups with seated pose, child's pose, laying down, all of that. So we're going to add on to our yoga practice. So practice that today or tomorrow morning, whenever you decide that you want to practice your own yoga, and come back and report back and see, tell us how you did, tell us how it went, and tell us what you're most comfortable in with starting in your yoga practice. And even if all you did for the rest of your life was practice your posture and breathing, you would still live a healthier and longer life because of it. So we're still getting that great benefit from this practice, even if it's very simple like this. So find a good position that you feel comfortable starting your poses. Tomorrow we get into more movements, which is one of my favorite things to do. That's all. If you have questions, please refer back to the lesson PDF or just ask me. I'm here for you, and I can't wait to keep helping you through this process. Okay? All right. See you later.